Now, I was first inspired to try making this video because the little trad thought controversy, at the conservative thoughts, as some of them might be called it. Because hearing about their little followings, it reminded me of this particular chapter in Tomie where a young widower, he's still pining for his beloved wife, his beloved late wife, is brought by a friend to this gathering where a bunch of men offer tribute and bow at the feet of Tomie. It's a rather comical little chapter, the absurdity of it all. And I thought, hey, also Tomie was Junji Ito's first big manga, so hey, it's worth talking about. And the character of Tomie herself, she's very elusive but interesting, trying to dissect what we can from the various stories. Now, the first part of the story, there's the original comic, it was a little one-off that Ito did for a contest. Then there was the following chapter, it took place in a hospital. And then there were some chapters surrounding the girl in the photography club. I think Junji Ito did that so there could be a movie, with the beginning, middle, and end, whatnot. I believe he was joking to a friend that the friend would be helping judge pretty girls, for the casting. Now, over the course of the manga, this question comes up: what is Tomie? Because there's something about it which is not entirely human, despite tests that might suggest otherwise, like testing blood splatters and whatnot. But you could say, she's the platonic form of the femme fatale, or the essential man-eater, literally and figuratively. Because she's a very beautiful lady, but she also has this unnatural power over men, especially simps, really thirsty dudes. Hell, even a level-headed man can eventually fall under her sway and follow the path of destruction, which invariably involves when you get involved with Tomie, bad shit happens. These men are also compelled to kill and dismember her, but she gets better. Now, the first story, I think that's about the original Tomie, because she has this childhood friend who's known her as a little girl, and when there's more than one Tomie, they tend to try to kill each other, so there's none of that drama beforehand. I suggest this is where the first story by Ito is where it all begins. Especially the fact, from this point on, Tomie is a force of chaos and disorder and destruction, from small and large scales, depending on the story. Now, in this original story, Tomie gets in this lover's triangle. She dies, is dismembered, and comes back to school like, hey, y'all. The teacher who she was having a tryst with, he cracks, tries to re-kill her, and from there on he is in prison or a fugitive, trying to understand this unnatural ability Tomie has to, when someone tries to kill her, then different things happen. If she's dismembered, the individual pieces regrow or sometimes coalesce, depending on how bad it is. Or, like say she's just stabbed. She will revive in time, but from her chest, she's stabbed in the chest, a little head's going to emerge and grow out into its own little thing. Now these multiple Tomies, they might be psychically linked, but at the very least they're aware of each other, and for some reason, sometimes they'll get along, just quietly go their separate ways, but more often they'll try to kill each other, they'll send an assassin after them. or they'll mind screw the assassin who went after them to go after the Tomie that tried to kill them. Yeah, they'll say to others that these other Tomies are fakes, but honestly, I think it might have to do with her ego, her sense of self. She has to be the special snowflake, this captivating woman, because she loves being the center of attention. In her first incarnation, I presume the girls, aside from her childhood friend, were envious of her beauty, so they ostracized her, and Tomie sought the attention of men, even older men, like her teacher. And funnily enough, I think only in that early incarnation of her did she actually engage in sex. Because then she was still a genuine human, but from then on, her relationships with men, it's about, well, one thing, she's got expensive tastes, and she wants to be pampered and catered, even if she's just a head in a bucket. But also because, having that sway over others, that's how she gets her charge. The emotional aspect, even though she doesn't feel any kind of love. There was this one story, the pinky finger, I think it was, where one of her duplicates is badly harmed, and there was this one guy who was not enraptured by her, who was immune to her trickery. But after one point, he confesses a little bit of vulnerability. Her badly injured double gets a real laugh out of that, and from then on is able to regenerate into one of her normal iterations. A bit of a sci-vamp, arguably. And that's not including the stories where she engages in outright cannibalism. Sex itself, I don't think provides that charge she needs. That's not how she consumes men. Okay, hold on. Look at some notes. Tomie brings out the worst in everybody she meets. Whether it's the men she has wrapped around her finger and drive mad, even the men who are immune to her charms, whether it's because they got some true love for another girl, or because they've been beaten down and they're wise to the ways of the world, and that kind of woman she is. Even just, the women around her, who are attached to a man that Tomie has wrapped around her finger, or just, even this kindly motherly figure she eventually drives mad. So what is Tomie? That is the big question, because trying to analyze a bunch of it scientifically, you'll see, hey, this is normal human blood, this is human, that's human, yet she dies, revives, breaks off into multiple versions of herself, that these doubles, making all kinds of mischief. And yet, because they hate each other, there's not going to be a lot of them running around for any length of time. Because burning is the one reliable way to destroy her. Now, I remember this Greek fella, saying that things which are beautiful are good, and things which are good will become beautiful. I gotta wonder about that. Well, because Tomie is a bad person, but she still holds that beauty. She's got that sway over others. I wonder what makes her so terrifying is that she embodies something that's good, but has been warped and twisted into something else. people admire her beauty, but she can't form anything beyond a superficial connection with anyone. And then ultimately it's destructive, as those who get attached to her are driven mad. Not sure if it says something about society, about women, about human nature. But reading Tomie from beginning to end was it was definitely interesting. We could see why Junji Ito was bound to be one of the best guys in the horror genre. Though it kinda does hold to that pattern where Junji Ito bursts into the gates with this really great idea, and it stays really interesting as he fleshes it out somewhat, but towards the end it kind of sputters a little bit, because we're not really, because something like this, the nature of Tomie, there's no way there's going to be a happy ending, a satisfying ending, but when it's over, just count your blessings if you still got all your marbles together. Well, thank everybody who listened through all this, and have a nice day.